The emergency beacon died 3 cycles ago. Rena had stopped counting the days after that. The crash had torn her shuttle apart across half a kilometer of jagged rock and crystalline forest. She'd survived with a fractured rib, a med kit with 2 doses left, and the growing certainty that no rescue was coming to this uncharted moon. The colony ship Endeavour was 14 light-years away by now, her absence likely marked as lost in survey operations and filed away in some database. She'd made peace with dying alone. What she hadn't expected was the den. Rena found it on her 4th day of rationing protein bars and searching for water. A cave mouth hidden behind luminescent vines exhaling warmth into the frigid air. She'd approached cautiously, pulse rifle ready, and discovered not a predator's lair but an abandoned nest. 3 small creatures huddled together, mewling weakly, their bodies covered in downy fur that shimmered between silver and blue. They were the size of human infants, with overlarge eyes and tiny grasping paws, and they were starving. She should have left them. Survival meant conservation of resources, meant hard choices, but Rena had been a mother once before the war, before the evacuation ships, before the plasma fire that took everything. Her hands moved before her mind could object, lifting the smallest cub, feeling its rapid heartbeat against her palm. That was 27 days ago. She'd named them Scout, Patches, and Little One. Scout was bold and curious, always the first to investigate anything new. Patches had distinctive markings across his back, dark swirls against silver. Little One was the runt, timid but affectionate, who'd claimed Rena's lap as his favorite sleeping spot. They'd grown fast on a diet of cavefish she caught from the underground stream, and edible moss she'd tested on herself first. They followed her everywhere now, tumbling over each other, wrestling with her bootlaces, chirping excitedly when she returned from foraging. In the darkness of an alien cave impossibly far from home, these 3 small lives had given her a reason to wake each morning. Rena was teaching Scout to retrieve, throwing a smooth stone for him to chase, when the temperature dropped. The cubs froze simultaneously, their playful chirps cutting off mid-sound, their fur rippled standing on end, colors shifting to match the cave walls, a defense mechanism she'd never seen them use. Then she heard it, a sound like tearing metal and grinding stone, echoing from deep within the cave system, heavy footfalls that made loose rocks dance, and a smell, copper and ozone and something primal that made her hindbrain scream predator. Rena's rifle was in her hands instantly. She positioned herself between the cubs and the deeper tunnels, clicking off the safety. "Behind me," she whispered, though they couldn't understand her words. They understood her tone. It emerged from the darkness like a nightmare given form. The creature stood 3 meters tall, its body a mass of corded muscle beneath armored plating that looked like living obsidian, 4 arms ending in claws that could shred steel, a head that was all angles and teeth with eyes that burned like molten gold. When it saw her standing over its young, those eyes narrowed with unmistakable intelligence and rage. This was Kale, the parent. Returned home to find a human in its den. Rena had fought in the border wars. She'd held evacuation points against Kreth raiders. She'd seen things that would break most civilians. But staring at this creature, this mother or father, she couldn't tell which, she knew her rifle would only anger it. The first shot might not even penetrate that armor. She was going to die here. Kale took a step forward, muscles coiling to strike. A low rumble built in its chest, a sound that Rena felt in her bones. The cubs pressed against her legs, trembling. Then Little One broke free. The tiny cub scrambled forward on unsteady legs, chirping frantically, and threw itself at one of Kale's massive lower arms. The great beast froze, that killing strike suspended mid-motion. Little One climbed higher, clinging to Kale's chest plating, nuzzling against what might have been a throat. Scout and Patches followed their sibling, rushing past Rena's legs to their parent. They climbed and chirped and tumbled over Kale's arms, their relief and joy evident in every movement. And Kale, this apex predator that had come home for vengeance, began to keen softly, carefully touching each cub with the backs of its claws, checking them for injuries. Rena lowered her rifle. Slowly, watching for any aggressive movement, she sank to her knees, making herself smaller, less threatening, Kyle's golden eyes fixed on her. The intelligence there was unmistakable. It was weighing, judging, deciding. Little One scrambled down from Kyle's chest and returned to Rena, pressing his small body against her shin. He chirped once, then looked back at his parent. Scout joined him, then Patches. All three cubs positioned themselves between the human and the beast, touching both. The cave was silent except for the drip of water and Rena's hammering heart. Kale moved. One massive arm extended toward Rena, claws that could eviscerate her with a casual swipe. She held perfectly still, forcing herself not to flinch. The claws stopped centimeters from her face, then gently, impossibly gently, touched her forehead. A single deliberate tap. The creature rumbled again, a different sound this time. It gathered its cubs, running armored appendages over them, checking them thoroughly. Then it did something that made Rena's breath catch. Kale moved to the back of the cave and returned, dragging something large, a carcass fresh from something it had hunted. It dropped the kill between them, an offering, meat enough to feed Rena for weeks. The great beast touched her forehead again, then each of its cubs. The same gesture repeated, making a point that even across species barriers, across all the vast differences between them, was crystal clear. You kept them alive. You are pack now. Rena felt tears on her cheeks. She placed her hand over her heart, then extended it toward Kale, palm open. The creature watched this gesture, then mimicked it with one massive paw, placing it against its own chest before extending it to her. In the darkness of an alien cave, two beings from different worlds reached an understanding older than language. The cubs tumbled between them, playing with the woman who'd saved them and the beast who'd returned to find not an enemy, but something far more unexpected. Family.